You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm your host, Tristan Neer-Jaeger, back again, Chief Strategy Officer at Rock Paper Scissors, the PR firm that specializes in music innovation and music technology. I'm not alone here today, though. I'm here with our wonderful Director of Marketing, Eleanor Rust.
Thanks, Tristra, and I'm here to turn the tables on you.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh, no.
So last week on the podcast, you and Dimitri gave a great set of hot takes on 2024 based on your deep reading and scanning of the news. This week, let's give our listeners something a little different. Let's look at the predictions that other analysts and thinkers are finding in their crystal balls. So this is going to be kind of a news roundup episode, but I want to find out what you are finding in other people's predictions and what our listeners should be paying attention to.
Yeah, I love to read really broadly, as some people may guess from my LinkedIn feed. And I wanted to bring some things to everyone's attention that aren't just your standard channels for music industry fun stuff. Though we'll get to some of those as well, and some of my favorite predictions for this year. Though I'm sure I missed somebody. Anyway, I want to start out by talking a bit about the broader media landscape.
All right.
So I found a fun report from Ogilvy, Germany, I believe, at their 2024 influencer trends, which sounds both terrifying and exciting. So
at least if you're Gen X like we are.
Yeah. Influencer trends
Something
is
about
a little triggering.
Yeah.
A little triggering for Gen X.
All right, but no.
Breath.
No, we are warmly accept the intergenerational future.
Absolutely.
So let's find out what those influencer trends are. What stuck out to you from this Ogilvy report?
Well, one of the trends they identified had to do with audio. And so I thought that's extremely relevant to the music tech world. And I feel like this story keeps coming up over and over again. Any of you in sync or, who run a production, music library, et cetera, will find this story quite familiar, but a deja vu all over again. But Ogilvy noted that sonic branding is a big deal and is going to be a big deal in 2024. 82% of 18 to 64-year-olds want a brand to have a sonic identity. So brands out there, sonically identify yourself. And 75% say that they connect better with a brand that has a distinct audio identity. Again, this is something that comes up again and again. If you read the ad trades at all, there'll periodically be a story about how brands are using audio cues, music, and other kind of auditory connections to get people interested in their brand identity. But it sounds like that's going to be incredibly important for 2024, especially with social media platforms like TikTok, where audio is often on. So
audio is often on, and it also is a way that subcultures define themselves on TikTok, right? If a brand wants to play with a social media platform that has all of these niches and subcultures, they need to be able to play that audio game.
And the folks at Ogilvy highlight that this doesn't have to be a full-blown music track, an artist track, a commercially released track. It could even be a certain beat, a general kind of vibe, a use of a sound or a synth patch that is connected to your brand and its general feel for consumers.
Interesting. See, as a marketer, that sounds like having a color palette and a set of visual assets that's really, familiar to me. And so it's interesting to think about audio in that same way, that it's about the vibe and it's about matching your style, your branding, rather than necessarily being a full-blown production.
In some ways, it's like this is the year, I think, when media gets a little bit more synesthetic, which for some of us is really exciting. And so another thing that's also connected to TikTok that comes up in this report, and we'll link to some of these things in the show notes, don't worry, you can check them out yourself, is that live shopping is going to finally be a thing. Now, it's been a big deal in markets like China for years. And in some ways, it's kind of been a big deal in the U.S. I'm kind of surprised that no one's really drawing very few people are drawing the connection between QVC and TikTok Shop. In some ways, I see Gen Z Gen Z's QVC is TikTok Shop. But anyway, 31% of people believe that live shopping allows them to make more informed purchasing decisions, which I find really, really interesting. And combine that with the audio side of things, and we're starting to get like a really, really interesting new frontier, I think, for social commerce. And that's relevant to the music industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing that is distinctive about TikTok Shop from QVC is how it really builds in the opportunity for user-generated content, that everybody on TikTok has the potential to be an influencer, that you don't need to negotiate a commission from the brand. You can put you can link to TikTok Shop items that you have no connection to that you just want to shill for.
Interesting.
It lets everybody kind of participate in that for good or for ill.
Democratizing QVC for the whatever of humanity. All right. So while we're talking about media and entertainment, I guess live shopping could be considered entertainment. I wanted to turn people's attention to a really nice piece that Lucas Shaw at Bloomberg did, kind of a compendium of an informal survey he did with a bunch of media execs from across entertainment. And he kind of summarized, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what everyone's telling him, but he gave some really great summaries that I think are helpful for us to keep in mind in the music business. He was getting a lot of feedback from his group of informants that we should look forward to a lot more media mergers in 2024, as well as an ongoing ad crisis for certain legacy players like television. Generally, we're looking at a less is more era for everyone from video on demand, streaming media, film studios are going to be putting out fewer feature films, all of this stuff. So it's going to be a strange year for a variety of different reasons that are really depending on the vertical you look at. However, Lucas also seems pretty convinced that an AI celebrity will arise who will make $1 million in 2024. So we will cross that benchmark threshold. We'll unlock that achievement badge. And he points out that he believes experiences, and that again isn't just music, we're talking about sports and other live events, will be the fastest growing segment of entertainment in 2024. And that really seems to hold true to what other folks are saying in music itself and in live music in particular. Yeah.
Can you talk a little more about what you think the music industry and music innovators can take away from Lucas's report?
Well, I kind of brushed over it, but the idea of a virtual celebrity making a significant amount of money is a really interesting problem and opportunity for the music business. We already have lots of virtual music artists that have made an impact, especially, the Japanese market is one of the biggest homes of some of those artists. And I'm wondering, what will be, will they break through to a broader market? What will the picture be like? I think 2024, we could definitely see a lot more virtual figures making bigger splashes in music. And of course, there are tons of humans behind those figures.
I was just going to ask that. This might be kind of a dumb question, but if the AI celebrity makes $1 million, who is making that money? Who gets that money?
A whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
From the mocap movement specialists, the folks, to the folks writing the songs. I've heard from other folks who have written songs for virtual artists and other, personas of that kind, that it's actually a really wonderful, new frontier for songwriters.
Oh, interesting.
It is. What it promises to take away on one hand, it gives to a whole other group of people who've always been in the background to some extent.
That's so interesting because I think the nightmare that people hear when they see headlines about AI celebrities, AI music makers, is that there aren't humans behind it, or that the humans are just computer programmers or something. I don't know if people are entirely aware about all of the human songwriters that might be.
I don't think
fueling this.
Yeah, I think there was that one. What was her name? Anna Indiana.
No, don't talk. No.
Sorry to bring up these difficult memories for everyone, but her repertoire and performance was completely AI generated, and it was not a satisfying experience for most listeners. So
it's a good proof of concept, I think, is probably the goal.
No, I mean, no shade intended for the people. I was an experiment, clearly, but I think it demonstrates that the balance between AI and human when it comes to these virtual influencers or virtual celebrities is extremely important and quite delicate.
Mm. Well, let's shift our attention a little bit closer to the music industry. Can you talk about some of the predictions and reports that are getting you most excited?
Now, if any of you haven't seen Media's 2024 predictions, and it's gotten a lot of great coverage from people who are way smarter than me, I would recommend go check that out. They have a great report, gave a wonderful webinar, sort of highlighting some of their findings. But there's a few things that, to summarize the summaries of the summaries, I think will be really important for people to keep in mind. Mark Mulligan and especially kind of emphasized that, I believe it was Mark that emphasized that music is at a hard fork. So, in some ways, we're looking at, with some of the new policies at Spotify, for example, with a bunch of other developments, we're looking at the sort of bifurcation of the music business, if we can call it that, or the music world, the musicosphere, the musicverse. So there'll be a lot of casual creators who are making things in the moment, who don't really intend to ever commercially release, or if they do, it's just like for shits and giggles. And then there's going to be people who are dedicated music makers, whether aspiring or successful professionals who are looking for commercial release and want the full industry treatment, so to speak. And I think that's a really interesting observation. I think it's very true. Another thing that they really emphasized and a lot of people hooked into, which I think is on everyone's mind, is that creation will become an important part of the attention economy. So and one of their most shared slides, it's really mind-blowing, is younger music fans especially are spending less time listening or absorbing content and more time making cool stuff. And especially super fans are prone to this. Super fans are prone to this dynamic. So they're more likely to be very lively creators and maybe to listen a little bit less and make a little bit more, which I think is really interesting.
That is so interesting as somebody who was on Tumblr in 2014, that I think in that superfan fandom niche, creating about the things you love is not new. It's just that the tools now make it possible to create more, for more people to create more music as a part of it. That, we're not just limited to crappy memes or GIFs anymore. There's so much richer creativity that's unlocked for casual creators and super fans. I'm excited to see how this hard fork takes shape.
You'd be surprised how many Sonic memes are making it onto Spotify, though. Don't search for certain search terms because you'll find a huge wall of content. But anyway, I'm being very silly.
Okay. I feel like there's a story behind this.
Anyone who wants to just DM me, I will tell you more about how I found out about how certain people search, SE basically optimized for certain search terms that I say a 10-year-old boy would find exciting.
Oh, okay. Well, I think at the next Music Tectonics conference at the party around the pool, we're going to give Tristra a beer and ask her for the details. How does she know?
Only if everyone jumps in the pool with me. All right.
Who hurt you, Tristra?
Who hurt my ears? All right. So let's talk for a second, though, more about that. So that's the sort of the broader picture of of music making as an activity. Think Tank had a really lovely rundown of some interesting predictions from different folks. And they cited some statistics and other trends that I think have much more relevance to the established industry. So, for instance, they see 2024 as a year that catalog sales continue. So there's been a lot of complicated press circling around Hipgnosis and its struggles. But even folks like Jay Gilbert are predicting that worldwide music copyright value will increase from the 41.5 billion we're looking at now to 50 billion in 2024. So a pretty significant jump and a kind of interesting trend that despite some of the turbulence seems to be ready to continue. Maybe as part of the growing value of copyright, major labels will start using AI as a forensic tool to protect artist identity and their IP. So there's going to be more and more sophisticated ways to trace how music is being used, whether it's being used to train AI. I mean, I've already seen some attempts to combine AI and blockchain in order to protect IP from being used sort of in training without the IP owner's awareness. And then there's things like spawning. So that's going to be using forensic AI will definitely become part of the music tech stack for a lot of labels and rights holders.
Interesting. It sounds like, do you think we're at the beginning of kind of an arms race that AI generation and forensic AI are going to be? Because I feel like we are that way for things like streaming fraud and right, or for attention economy based advertising, right? So what do you think? Do you think? I'm asking you rather than your sources.
Yeah, will there be like a gray market for kind of quasi shady data sets? I mean, it could be. I mean, I don't know. Like you're just opening up this whole like sci-fi world of like a Silk Road for like audio data sets that someone digs up to create.
All right, Tristra's next novel.
Exactly. It's getting a little dark here.
Yeah, it's getting a little like Neil Stephenson.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, we've got to get deeper into AI. I mean, it's been what everyone's been talking about, and there's so many interesting frontiers taking shape before our eyes. So let's get to that after a short break.
Dimitri here. Hey, are you coming to the NAMM show in Anaheim, California? I love checking out the musical instruments at the annual trade show of Music Gear, but I'd rather do it with you. So we're teaming up with the MIDI Association to hold a Music Innovators Meetup at NAMM. Meet all the instrument, software, and app innovators in one room. We'll pass the mic so you can match names with faces, and then we'll have an open schmooze fest. Meet at the MIDI Association booth number 10302. That's 10302 in the Convention Center on Sunday, January 28th from 11:30 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. And keep an eye out on the show floor for the guy in crazy pants. That's me. I'll be looking for the mad inventors and creative geniuses of musical gear to capture on video. Follow our Instagram at Music Tectonics for reels of my favorite finds from NAMM. Plus, we'll bring some of the best music-making innovations at our next free online event in February and on upcoming podcast episodes. Find out more at musictectonics.com and sign up for our newsletter so you're the first to know. Now, back to the pod.
Okay, Tristra, we're back. What else are you seeing out there about the future of AI in the short term?
Yeah, so I want to direct people's attention to a very well-named outlet called Purple Sneakers from Australia. I wanted to sort of, let's broaden the English language perspectives here. And they really point to how AI, legal wrangling, and regulation will make the music industry squirm, because there's going to be a lot of insecurity, of questions about what is legal, what isn't, what can you do, what can't you do. There's going to be a lot of tension between folks like OpenAI and publishers. And until some of these legal cases get settled, which will obviously take a while because I'm sure there will be appeals, it's going to be really difficult to determine what you can do and what you can't, and what you could litigate based on and what you can't. And one of the most interesting things, I'm just going to point this out, that I've seen about the OpenAI versus New York Times case, for example, is that even hallucinations are like, where do they fall, right? Do they fall into the realm of defamation, right? Like if you're saying that, say, Music Business Worldwide wrote this piece, with these particular statements, and that isn't accurate, have you somehow maligned Maurice Dassin or Tim Ingham? Like what are the boundaries when it comes to things like defamation and when AI accidentally tells a lie, right?
Wow. I mean, wow. My sense of interacting with ChatGPT is that it was never designed to tell the truth.
It's not really about it. It's not a truth machine. It's an imitation machine, right?
Yeah. And so its quick adoption and its quick rise in adoption means that legal questions that might otherwise really take some time to work through the courts are suddenly super pressing, aren't they?
And governments are trying to react. I mean, we've already seen legislation in the EU and even here in the US where things take much longer and everyone kind of just stares into space and wonders, what are we doing here? This in our ungovernable homeland, there's already some legislation pending about AI, against quote unquote AI fraud, meaning deep fakes and the use of someone's voice for synthesis without their permission. So that's also going to make things a little murkier. So what could be a viable business model or plan may suddenly become illegal.
Wow.
So that's always an interesting place to be. In general, a lot of folks from the sort of poli-sci and threats, international threats world are looking at these issues. For example, Eurasia Group had in their kind of like biggest threats of 2024, always cherry reading. You always want to read these when you're on a rainy day and kind of a bad mood. Just makes things even worse. So, for instance, they write, responding to AI is less about regulating the technology, which is well beyond plausible containment, than understanding the business models driving its expansion and then constraining the incentives, capitalism, geopolitics, human ingenuity, that propel it in potentially dangerous directions. So what I think that means is, as a lot of people like to say, the genie's not going back in the bottle, but we need to think about the business models that could nudge this technology in a beneficial or detrimental direction. And that's relevant to music as well.
Yeah, could you talk a little more about that? How do you think the music industry might play into these larger trends?
Well, I mean, I could be wrong, and I would welcome people to clap back at me about this, but it seems like the industry is desperately trying to take a more constructive view of this technology, perhaps because everyone sees that they're not going to be able to make it just go away or to sue it out of existence. And I think we learned a lot from the digital transition and like the Napster days that, lawsuits, especially suing music fans, is not a viable path to finding a new business model in the face of deep technological change. So I think the industry is better. I like to think it's better equipped. Again, if you feel differently, let us know because I'm curious about your perspective. Is a little bit better equipped to embrace this tech and use it for its own ends, as opposed to just letting it propagate in the wild and then trying to clamp down on it, which is not the easiest, is not going to be possible. So that's a little bit vague, but I hope that that's kind of an answer to your question.
All right, well, let's dig a little further. I think you have a few other AI literate predictions and reports you wanted to dig into.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. There's one more point, and Janelle Borg of Amplify You made a wonderful prediction related to marketing trends. She really sees AI customization coming to the fore, and I really think for marketing, that could be a real boon to a lot of artists and labels. So, and I guess publishers too. So by AI customization, I think we're meaning, really supercharging people's marketing efforts based on, like, once you have a basic idea of what you're trying to do, you can iterate and create different versions for different audiences of whatever content you're doing really quickly. So if I'm making an ad, if I am trying to come up with a social post, I can come up with a whole variety of things really quickly. And I noticed recently that Facebook Meta, had started this whole new, they'd incorporated AI into their ad platform. So if you put in a basic thing about what you're trying to advertise, it will start to iterate different versions of it. Sometimes they're really bizarre because, especially if you're advertising something really bizarre or unusual, but it'll give you a bunch of little things. It'll even add emojis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Is AI taking away my favorite part of work, which is selecting Slack reacts for people's messages?
AI will never match you, Eleanor. Don't worry. The human touch will always be important when it comes to emoji selection.
Yeah. But no, that's super interesting in that it could really democratize A/B testing for, small retailers, for music marketers.
Absolutely. And hopefully prevent some burnout. Like, artists and those who love them. I mean, I really feel you trying to come up with like a new way to talk about something so you can post about it, or just even doing a summary of, say you've got like, you know, an artist statement or a bio and you want to just pull out some relevant stuff. You know, ChatGPT and Claude are amazing for that. So, you know, I wouldn't ask them to generate a press release for you personally, but it can summarize a bunch of stuff and spit out some hopefully somewhat concise little tidbits for you to use, or highlight some of the best parts of what you're trying to say. So
yeah, of course. I mean, people make a lot of jokes about why is AI not doing my taxes? Why is it making writing poetry instead? Why is it, you know, of course we could talk about forever why AI innovators are using creative things as test cases, as proof of concepts for their engines. But if it could support artists, small labels, etc., automating or at least lowering the burden on some of the most grinding aspects of their jobs, that's great.
Yeah, if I can just get a blurbing AI, that's like all I need. Like the rest of it is irrelevant. Now, Janelle points out another interesting trend, which is something that I'm really fascinated by, and I really think is going to come to the fore in 2024. And that is an emphasis among artists on subscriptions and exclusive offerings to their fan base. This kind of plays into the obsession, the sort of chant that we hear from in every CEO letter about superfans and offering superfan products, such as I think what Sir Lucian Grange, as how he phrased it in his kind of 2024 kickoff letter. He's the CEO of, I think he's the CEO. I can never remember people's titles. He's the head dude at UMG.
Yeah.
I am a music industry professional. All right. But these superfan products are things that will appeal to people who are really into an artist or really into a certain kind of music. And the nice thing is these are way more fun for most artists to create, I think, and way more rewarding in terms of the love they get back from the people who enjoy these offerings, I would argue, than simply putting something up on Instagram, which, you know, but making something cool and having people engage with it, that is really fun. So Janelle's seeing that as part of the future year ahead. And I agree. And last but not least, I wanted to point out something that Bobby Owsinski pointed to, which was the collapse of data-driven A&R.
What?
So the last few years, because we've had all this beautiful, beautiful usage data, clearly it's been very, very helpful for people looking for emerging artists. So who finally ticks past that weird little benchmark that shows they may have some traction and some potential.
And this, of course, is an environment where there's more and more music being created, more and more emerging artists emerging.
That's right. And we're in a lot of markets, there are fewer and fewer opportunities for artists to play as indie venues suffer from the sort of the headwinds of post-pandemic and post-pandemic economic chaos, at least in the United States. And I know in the UK too, this has been a problem. Anyway, but Bobby sees a future where more A&R is being done the old-fashioned way, by people going and listening, seeing a band, engaging with an artist, and figuring out, you know, who might have the potential to become a long-running hit maker, even if they're not going viral right this second. And I think that's really great because I think that will, you know, viral stuff could be awesome too. And I think a mixed strategy makes a lot more sense, however, because you really can't tell. I mean, not everyone's going to be a Lil Nas X who comes out of nowhere like a meteor and then somehow figures out how to stick around. There's going to be a lot of people who maybe have a viral hit and then disappear because that was it. They were, you know, or they were an influencer and weren't really made to be a music artist.
Right.
All right. That's all I got from other people's
All right. Well,
crystal
thanks
balls.
for this whirlwind tour of other people's crystal balls.
I feel like I'm peering into some.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm really excited to see how these things play out, and I'll be checking back in with you over the course of the year on what we see happening. But I want to hear a little bit about your year ahead.
Well, I kind of felt like I've been advocating for certain things, and I need to, live by what I preach. So I've decided to make a personal resolution for 2024 to support more independent artists. And specifically, I want to buy at least one music project a month from directly as possible from an indie artist. So if the dream would be I put a stack of bills into an artist's hand in return for a flash drive or whatever they send me, a Dropbox link. If that's not possible, I will go to something, I'll go to a platform that will benefit them the most or their website. But I want to go out and support people directly. And I'll post who I'm supporting on LinkedIn. And maybe you can tell me who you're listening to and I can find more people to give my money to. Because I really want to help indie artists this year. And I'm really excited what I'm going to discover. I'm going to look for younger artists. I'm going to look for artists from genres that maybe I don't listen to every single day. So they won't all just be like 24-year-old goths. Maybe a few goths in there.
All right. If you want to follow along on Tristra's project, she's Tristra Yeager on LinkedIn, I believe. Is that
yes.
right?
Yep.
Well, let's link to your profile in the blog post, the show notes that go along with that episode, if that's okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Let me tell you, following Tristra on LinkedIn is a trip. You always have, and she always share really interesting articles and insights from the music industry, and then those slightly adjacent areas that have so much to tell us about where the music industry is going. And then also just some crazy utopians in Indiana sometimes.
It happens.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us and for spending your half hour or so with us. And let us know if you've seen any great predictions that we missed that we should be aware of, because I'm eager to hear what you have to say.
Thanks for listening to Music Tectonics. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We have new episodes for you every week. Did you know we do free monthly online events that you, our lovely podcast listeners, can join? Find out more at musictectonics.com. And while you're there, look for the latest about our annual conference and sign up for our newsletter to get updates. Everything we do explores the seismic shifts that shake up music and technology, the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's my favorite platform. Connect with me, Dmitri Vitsa, if you can spell it. We'll be back again next week, if not sooner.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.